Tonight, when you picture the fall of Rome, you probably imagine a single dramatic moment, a city under siege, barbarians at the gate, Carsim Supreme Dolfbertacine, a crown knocked off a trembling emperor's head, one cataclysmic night when the greatest empire in history simply stopped existing. But that moment never happened. The real story is far stranger. Rome did not fall, it dissolved slowly, unevenly, over centuries, in ways almost invisible to the people living through it, and half of it never fell at all. Start with the year everyone remembers, 476 AD. A Germanic general named Odoacer removes the last Western Roman emperor, a teenager named Romulus Augustulus. There was no great battle or burning capital. Odoacer simply decided the boy was no longer useful and sent him into quiet retirement. That is the tragic fall of Rome as most textbooks tell it. But those textbooks leave out an astonishing fact. The Roman Empire did not end in 476. Only its western half did. The eastern half, ruled from Constantinople, kept going for another 977 years. Think about that number, nearly 1,000 years. The people living in Constantinople in the year 1000 still called themselves Romans. They still used Roman law, and their emperor claimed the title Augustus once held. Historians today call this eastern survivor state the Byzantine Empire, but that name was invented centuries later by scholars trying to separate it from real Rome. The people living inside it never used that word. To them, Rome never fell at all. Why does the West get all the attention? Partly because the Western collapse was messier, more visual, and easier to dramatize. Cities shrank, aqueducts crumbled, trade networks broke down, and literacy rates fell. Life for an average person in Britain or Gaul in the year 550 looked profoundly different and often harder than life a century before. That part of the story is real, but even that collapse was not the sudden barbarian invasion you are picturing. Historian Peter Heather argues that the groups Rome called barbarians weren't outside conquerors smashing down the gates. Many had lived on Roman borders for generations, serving in Roman armies and negotiating treaties. Some even rose to become Roman generals. The Visigoths who settled in Roman territory weren't strangers storming a fortress. They were refugees and migrants pushed west by the Huns. They wanted security and a place inside the Roman system, not its destruction. Rome's real crisis wasn't an army at the walls, but an empire too large, expensive, and politically fragmented to defend itself. At its height, the empire stretched from Britain to the Persian Gulf. One army couldn't defend it all, one treasury couldn't fund it, and one emperor couldn't govern it. By the late 200s, the empire split its leadership just to function, dividing the load among multiple rulers. It was a sprawling machine, straining under its own weight for longer than most realize. Add to that a currency debased for centuries, with inflation eating away at the value of Roman coins. Add plagues that swept through cities, draining the population of vital soldiers and taxpayers alike. Add a series of civil wars where Roman generals fought each other for the throne, pulling entire legions away from borders to do it. By the time large groups of Goths, Vandals, and others settled inside Roman territory, the Western Empire had been hollowing itself out from the inside for 100 years. Here's the twist. Many of those barbarian kingdoms didn't see themselves as replacing Rome, but as continuing it. Historian Edward James points out that early Gothic and Frankish rulers kept Roman administrators in place, used Roman coinage, followed Roman legal codes, and styled themselves in ways that echoed Roman authority. Theodoric, the Ostrogothic king who ruled Italy after Odoacer, governed Rome for over 30 years and worked hard to preserve Roman institutions, senators, and culture. He wasn't trying to erase Rome, he was trying to inherit it. Mostly, what vanished in 476 was a single office. The title of Western Roman Emperor stopped mattering because real power had already shifted to local kings. Removing Romulus Augustulus was a mere formality. Meanwhile, the Eastern Empire thrived. Under Emperor Justinian in the 500s, it briefly retook parts of Italy and North Africa, while his legal reforms, the Corpus Juris Civilis, shaped European law for a millennium. Historians like Procopius described a Constantinople of vast wealth and ambition, the true, unbroken continuation of Rome. The Eastern Empire ended in 1453 when Ottoman forces under Mehmed the Conqueror took Constantinople after a brutal siege. That moment deserves the title, The Fall of Rome, far more than 476 did, yet it remains less famous because it happened 1,000 years later to an empire most don't realize was still Rome. This matters because a single cataclysmic collapse is a comforting myth. Real history rarely ends with a clean,